Hi, welcome to Ted's Modeling Technique. I'm building up a funny car. I'm getting ready to start on the engine, and I need to build a couple of Pro Mag 44 magnetos by MSD. These are those big honking things you see on the front of the engine of funny cars and rails, and even sticking out of the hood of some of the Pro Mod cars. And I'm going to be using ProTech parts to build one up. It's only 5 pieces to build a simple magneto, and ProTech makes some good parts. Charlie's a great guy over there for answering questions, helping out any way he can, and this is going to be less expensive than buying a pre-made magneto, and hopefully it's even going to look a little more realistic. So let's get started. Here's what we need. We've got a part number PTMC65, which is their distributor kit. We have 2 different colors of spark plug cable. I think we're going to end up using the black, and that's a PTMC1. Then we have a 1/8 inch piece of plastic tubing, a 1/16 inch piece of plastic rod, and we've got 20 thousandths sheet styrene that we're going to cut out a 3/16 inch disc to use for the cap on this. So that's all we've got right there. The real MSD mag is 10 inches tall. In order to get that to work on our scale, you need to cut this 1/8 inch tube off at 7/32 of an inch, or 7 millimeters, or 1/4 inch could be close enough. And if you're going to use the X-Acto blade and then roll it to cut it, don't ream out the end. Leave that kind of enclosed the way it is when you roll it, because that's going to make it easier to center the aluminum cap, and then also the rod for the 1/16 inch rod for the shaft also. I found this item at Micromark for measuring and cutting tubing. You set your distance you want here, the length of your tubing, and you put your flat saw, in this little groove and cut it off. And it makes consistent. If I'm just going to cut one piece, I won't bother. But if I'm going to cut multiple pieces, I want them to be the same length. This is ideal. I really like this tool. And you want these to be as close as possible. You want these to be the same for 2 mags, if you're putting 2 mags on your engine, because they're going to be smack up next to each other. And if one's a different height, it's just going to look weird. It's going to be hard to adjust for that. And this can also be made out of aluminum. If you don't want to use plastic, the same pieces will work for aluminum too. As a matter of fact, this 1/16 inch rod for the shaft may not be small enough for your application, depending on how you're going to fasten that into the front of your engine block. The next size down is an evergreen number 221, which is 3/64 of an inch. And then for painting, the real unit has an aluminum body. You can see how that looks anodized with a plastic cap. So I've got some paints I'll show you that will give you that nice anodized red look. And then a flat red for the aluminum piece that we have, and then the flat, or it's going to be a gloss red for this particular disc at the top, because we're going to maybe put nuts on the top of that, like this, and also maybe a decal. So we're going to need a slick, shiny, smooth surface to do that. And the paints are these Dupli-Colors. And I'll put the numbers up there for you. We've got this silver for the base and this anodized red for the top. And you want to make sure when you cut these pieces that you file them down really nice and flat. You want that to be really smooth, because these 2 pieces, when they join, if there's a little wow in it, a little whistle cut or something, it's not going to quite work. I've got a setup where I use a battery-operated drill I've mounted vertically, and I keep a little disc in there, a little Dremel sanding cutoff wheel type disc, and I use it to put something down on top of it and give me a nice flat cut. I mean, if I could afford it, I'd have some kind of a little belt sander or something set up to really give me some nice smooth cuts. Make the spark plug bundle that's going to go on top of this aluminum piece. And what's good about this ProTech piece is it has this little tapered lip on the bottom, and that's going to give us that tapered look coming up from the magneto body to this cap. And this cable assembly is going to be glued right on top of that. Now I just took the 3/16 inch disc that we cut out, and I just made a circle around that. I just traced it to give me a cap to work with. And this is going to represent the top of this aluminum piece. And then draw a center line through it. Now you'll notice I've got engine left and engine right on here. If this is our magneto, we're looking down at the top of that. This would be the front of the car, rear of the car here. And it makes a difference for our cable routing. And this is what this looks like, you know, blown up right here. So this is just a little easier for me to demonstrate what we're doing. Obviously the cables are cut to length. This right side, if this is the magneto, it's going to be on the engine right front of the engine anyway. So this is going right to that head, right behind it. The other cables are going to be coming out and going over to the left side. And I'm just, showing you four here to start with, just to give you an idea of what we're doing. So we set the first one down, move the next one over, and you'll notice I've got these staggered. Leave the next one a little bit longer, and then take a little dab of glue in the very tip of a toothpick or whatever, and just touch that spot, and those two will glue together. You don't want the glue to run down. You want this to be as small an area, glue area as possible. So you just want to get that very tip. It doesn't take much to get this plastic to stick together. And then take the next one, move it over, and the same thing, a little dab of glue right there. And again, you'll notice that these are staggered. The end result is that this is going to have a look here. These longer cables are going to look like they actually come over to this side of the spark plug and turn down into the magneto itself. The next one after that, after we get those four together, the fifth one is going to be a combination, our first plug over here on the left side, and also it's going to be our wire going down to our coil. So then what you want to do is you want to, the same thing, move this over and glue it in place also, and then take another 3 wires, because this is your first one. You want another 3 like this, staggered, over here, and end up with that shorter one on the outside again. A couple of things I want to point out before we go too far that's going to make it easier for you. I have a piece of wax paper taped down here to our little template, and this is going to make it easier when you glue your pieces together here in this center piece. The glue isn't going to stick to this paper, although it does seem to adhere just a tiny bit, which is good because it helps keep those wires from just kind of floating all over the place when you're trying to glue it. And also make sure you're using a medium glue, because something too runny, it dries too fast, isn't going to work. You don't want glue by capillary action trailing up these wires as you're gluing these together, because you want this glue point to be as small as possible and confined to this size space right here. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. There's your coil wire, which happens to be this one right here, just a longer one, and then you've got 4 on each side that way. And you want, like I said, keep this as small as possible in that glue area. And you also want to press down with your toothpick, whatever you're using at the time. Press down while you're gluing it. Make sure that's really flat, because this has to sit on top of this distributor body here. And that's all there is to the cable assembly. For the nuts to go on the very top of the magneto, I'm going to be using ProTech part number PT MC7. And they come in 20 thousandths, 30 thousandths, and 40 thousandths of an inch in size. I'm going to be using these 20s. I need them really small. And if you can see, if I get this to focus in here, if you look at the right side, the right half, it looks like there's it looks more like a nut with a bolt coming up through the middle of it, as opposed to those on the left. If I can get the glare off of that. Those on the left look more like a standard bolt head. Now the ones on the right is what we're really looking for. And the reason I say that is, look at the real MSD retainers, whatever they are on here. Looks just like those in the ProTech line, so this is really going to look good. Here are a few shots of the unit before I put the cap on, so you can see the wiring layout, how this cable assembly is glued to the distributor body itself. And then the last couple of shots are the completed piece with the cap on top. I used the 20/1000ths of an inch nuts and using the pledge with Future to glue those on top. And you can see how the wires are going to be routed. And the next video is going to take this a step further and get into the ignition wiring of the car using both of these magnetos. Thanks for watching.